Hello everyone, I'm Nakatuya, and today I'll teach you how to make an IKEA phone case from an IKEA Frakta bag, or the 99-cent bags. This is a really easy phone case, and you'll need a few things. Things that I'll be using will be just a standard slim phone case. Don't use an expensive case, something cheap. You're also going to need your IKEA Frakta bag material, pre-cut, and you're going to need, it has to be at least larger than your phone case that you will be using. You're also going to need the strap already disassembled and removed from the bag. I will be using a sharp X-Acto knife, a marking utensil that won't bleed through the bag, and contact adhesive. Only use contact adhesive, and don't use like other glues. Contact adhesive is the way to go. Super glue to clean up edges. I'm using different formulas. And you're also going to need fire of some sort through a lighter or matches. First, you're going to place your phone onto your IKEA bag. You're going to trace your phone onto the IKEA Frakta bag. This doesn't have to be perfect, just good enough. And then you're going to draw a profile around that phone, outline using a ruler length around it, which comes to around 1 inch. Leave a lot of space on the outside of your original trace. Then you'll cut this out either using scissors or a knife. I decided to use a knife, and it doesn't have to be perfect, it can be a little rough. This step is completely unnecessary, but I cleaned up my edges a little with a paper cutter. Now that you have your sheet, you're going to place your phone back onto your original trace, and you are going to grab your marker and trace out as slim to the phone as possible, especially the corners and the camera hole inside the case. Now, I decided to get my light box out here to see the lines a little better. I don't know if it helped or not, but basically, you're going to be drawing lines at the corner to make the contours from the bag to the phone case a little cleaner. But just draw a few lines on the corners. Now you're going just to cut out the lines at the corners to fit the contours of the iPhone case a little better so that it is a little cleaner. We'll be melting the bag, we'll be melting the material onto the case for a better fit. I also suggest cutting the ends of your little strips at the corners at the end for a better fit. Don't cut out the original sketch. Now you're going to grab your contact adhesive and spread it on the entire surface. Now you're also going to spread contact adhesive on the entire surface of the outside of the iPhone case. Don't glue the inside, but it is good to get around the edges and all little nooks and crannies. Now, once the contact adhesive is dried after 10 minutes, you are going to place your phone as close as you can to your tracing, and you want to line up the corners especially, and get it flat. Once the contact adhesive sticks, you cannot take it off. Try to get rid of all the wrinkles in the material. Now you're going to pull the edges around the edge of the iPhone case so it has a good contour and shape. And the corners can be especially tricky once you pull two edges together. Just try to maneuver them so they are as flat or flush to the corner as possible. You will be melting them anyway. If you need to grab a knife to cut or trim some of the strips, that is fine as well. Again, it is recommended that you cut the end of the strips on the bag so they don't bunch up, and it makes it a lot easier, like I'm doing here. And you're just going to fold the rest of the edges up to the phone case and leave the slack of the material hanging because we will cut it off. Now we can begin cleaning up the edges as best as we can. Those are high points that make the phone case look as best as we can. And using the edge as a guide, cut along the edges of the excess material. It can also be a little rough because we will trim the rest soon. Just using the edge as a guide to trim off the material as clean as possible. Use a sharp knife. It makes a really large difference. Now that you have trimmed off the material roughly, you can cut out more and clean up. I am cleaning the bottom here. And work hard on the corners. Those are high points. Now, you may have noticed that the edges are a little frayed, and to clean that, we are going to melt the material so that it fits better. I'm just using a match, but if you have a lighter, that is more recommended. Also, don't over melt the material, as you might burn it, and you don't want to burn it. Just trying to get rid of the fraying of the material when you cut it. And also cut out the camera hole, and as you can see, that left a pretty nice little finishes, especially on the edges. You don't want to melt the corners, like fully melt them. You just want to get rid of the frays. Now you gotta cut out the little mute button hole, and I am cleaning up the corner that I burned off using an extra a little scrap piece of material and contact adhesive. Then I am also cleaning up the inside, and I will again melt it just slightly, just don't burn it. And I'm cutting out the mute hole. And going over the edges again, and with a match to singe any frays. Now I'm going to be using super glue to make sure the edges are especially cleaned up and fraying is as minimal as possible. This step isn't exactly necessary, but it helps slightly in some ways. It won't help all the time though. Now you're going to get your strap with the Ikea logo and position where you want your logo to be and find out where you're going to cut. Make sure that the length is longer than the phone. I marked out my areas to the end of one of the Ikea logos. Make sure you use a clean strip that hasn't been folded, or strap. Make sure you use a clean strap that has as minimal folds as possible. Then just cut out the ends. So I will be using that strip, and I'm positioning it where I want it to be. And you're going to grab a marker and draw roughly where your strap will be under it, because you don't want it to be showing. I also highlighted it with a thicker marker so that you can see where I want to put my contact adhesive. Now, spread contact adhesive to both the phone and the strap where you want your strap to be. Don't put any contact adhesive on the outside of where you're going to place your strap on the phone, because it might show. Also get around the contours and such. Also apply contact adhesive to the strap. Now wait for the contact adhesive to dry after 10 minutes or so. When pulling out any folds, you're going to place it where you want on the phone as straight as possible. Then smooth it out and make sure that you have a good contact. Also pull it around the contours and the sides. Now use a knife to trim off the excess on the inside. We are also going to melt the frays of the fabric material of the straps. This will ensure that it doesn't fray up. Do this to both sides, and as you can see, it leaves a pretty nice finish. Now I'm going to go over these areas again with super glue. now that's basically it. You now have an IKEA phone case. So yeah, that's how you make an IKEA phone case. I'd appreciate it if you were to leave a like on this video and feedback in the comment section. Have anything else you would like me to build, leave it in the comment section, and yeah, have a good day.